Very good evening, and it is my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to today's event and to introduce a truly remarkable guest, someone whose work and spirit continues to inspire, empower, uplift countless people around the world. Pinky Lilani is truly a force of nature, do not be deceived by her size. She is an author, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and champion of women's leadership. But more than that, she is a catalyst for connection, kindness, and courageous conversation, as some of you have already discovered. We tried to confine Pinky to the VIP holding group, but we failed. And so you had the opportunity, some of you had the opportunity to already engage in conversation with Pinky a short while ago. Pinky is the founder of Women of the Future and the Asian Women of Achievement Awards, and has dedicated her career to recognizing and celebrating women who are shaping a better, fairer, and more inclusive world. Her work has helped to create platforms that go far beyond awards. They are communities of support, networks of influence, and spaces for possibilities. And she's continuing to explore those spaces for possibilities.
And we'll focus.
In 2015, Pinky was named one of the 100 most powerful women in the UK by BBC's Radio 4's Women's Hour. And in 2023, she received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the GT2 Leadership Awards. She has been recognized not only for her professional accomplishments, but for her warmth, wisdom, and deep belief in the power of lifting others as we rise. Those who know Pinky, and I count myself as someone who already knows Pinky, often speaks of her infectious optimism, her humor, and her unique ability to bring people together across divides, whether over dinner or through dialogue, and in my case over a conference call. And I also have learned she's able to engage with conversations even if we happen to be on the same flight. Today we are delighted to hear her speak on the theme that beautifully captures her essence and ethos. Some kind of wonderful, coriander, kindness, and courage. A talk that promises to nourish us with flavor, spirit, and inspiration in equal measure. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming our guest, Pinky Lilani.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm so honored and privileged. I cannot say nice enough things about your incredible CEO, Elizabeth, who's just got all the values that I treasure. She's got integrity, humility, kindness, passion, and she's super clever. And I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you, Paul, also, for having been so generous to be there with me. That really makes a difference. I'm going to only speak for about 10-12 minutes and then have hopefully an incredible conversation with Elizabeth. But I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Now, it's a great time to be living in the UK. Diversity is high on the agenda. I'm a woman, an ethnic minority woman, I'm a Muslim woman, I'm an older woman, and I'm disabled. And you may wonder in what way I'm disabled, but about 20 years ago, I developed a very serious hearing problem. So I'm profoundly deaf, so I wear two very powerful hearing aids. And I tell people that because sometimes when they ask me a question, I give a totally wrong answer. Once somebody asked me, how long does it take you to make a curry? And I heard, how long have you been in the country? So I said, 47 years. So we're not coming to your house for dinner. But I went to England many, many years ago when I met my husband and had an arranged marriage in India. And he had done no due diligence. He thought he'd got a good wife who could cook. I never inside the kitchen because we had the best chef in Calcutta. So I went to England, not knowing my husband, not knowing how to cook, and not knowing anybody at all. But there are three things in my life that are very important, and they are kindness, people, especially women, and food. And I have a mantra, and my mantra is, you have not lived a perfect day unless you've done something for someone who can never repay you. So kindness lies at the heart of everything I do. When I went to England, I didn't really work. I didn't work at all. I had my children. And I learned to cook because I love having people over. And once I learned to cook, I got my first job, which somebody said, you can cook well. Will you teach adults cookery? We will pay you £11 an hour. And I said, yes. So I used to go for 2 hours, learn to cook and teach them. And everybody told me, you must write a book. So I wrote my first book on cookery and self-published it. And after selling 20 copies, nobody else wanted any. So I started ringing up all the bookstores and saying, "Will you stock my book?" So they said, "Are you a celebrity? Are you on television?" I said, "No," so nobody wanted a copy. So then I became creative. And I think what I want to share with people is the importance of creativity. I came up with the idea and I said, if I bring my wok into your bookstore and make spicy Bombay potatoes in 5 minutes, will you let me sell my book? And 10 of them said no, but one of them felt sorry for me and said yes. So I took my wok, my spice box, and cooked, and it was a big success. So after that I started traveling all around the whole country with my spice box and learning how to cook and sharing everything I did. What I really want to say is that if you want to go fast, go low. If you want to go far, go together. So all of us need everyone so much. So I told you about the importance of food in my life, and I'll tell you the story about the wok, because the wok has now been, I was telling Elizabeth this earlier, for the first time, and this is another story, is my younger son told me he wanted to go to Oxford to do an MBA. And like an Indian mother, I said, yes, you must go to Oxford. So I went with him when he was going around Oxford and asked them what they did for him. And they said, what do you do? So I told them what I did. And he got in. And then I got invited by them. They rang me up and said, would I be the keynote speaker on the first day of term for a course? And I told them, and the people on the first day of your term, don't tell any of the women, because if I don't speak well, nobody will go out with you. But I took my wok. I asked Oxford, can I bring my wok and make potatoes? And nobody brings their wok into Oxford. But I insisted, and they did let me. It was a big success. So the wok has now been everywhere. Into Oxford, Cambridge, London Business School, Bank of England, Radio 4, BBC, and another 1,000. No, not thousands, exactly, 100 companies. But I've also taken it on my, you've all heard of TEDx, the famous talk that's all over the world. My TEDx talk has my walk as well. But then I set up to that, my 2 books I did. By the time I did my second book, I'm not going to show you that. But what I did after that was I said, food is important. Recognizing women became even more important. Set up the Asian Women of Achievement Awards 26 years ago, because I wanted to recognize Asian women. And the way I got that done, I didn't have a company or anything. I was walking the streets of London, stopping people and saying, will you enter my awards? And then the story I say this often, because it just shows what you can do. They all said you should invite the Prime Minister's wife. So I actually rang up number 10 Downing Street and said, will Mrs. Blair come to our awards? And they said she would. So I asked the next question, I said, will she wear an Indian outfit? Because you know what Indian outfits are. She didn't have any, so they asked me to bring some to Downing Street. So I took them, she wore one of them. She became a great friend and patron. But the Asian Awards then, after I did that, I thought I must recognize young women. So set up the Women of the Future Award, which is for women under 35 in 12 categories. So everybody from ESG to media, and then I came to Malaysia in 2016, and everybody said, why don't you bring the award to Southeast Asia? That's what we brought the awards in 2018. And it includes 11 countries around here. So any of you want to enter, you're under 35, please have the nominations open now and they close in September. We have the award in actually in Singapore. But I've gone on to set up many more programs, so a network, a school program, and the summit. We had the summit 2 months ago again, and Julia Gillard, the former Prime Minister of Australia, and I've set up ES3, kindness, because kindness is so important. I think that takes you further than anything else, because kind people are never forgotten. And that's the reason. So what's helped me is all the people I've met on that journey. Some pictures up here. There's Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh there, with the King's sister-in-law. There's the King who's come to our awards twice. That's the women of the future. And then, any of you who have not read, you must read an amazing author called Elif Shafak. She's a Turkish author who's amazing. These are some of the incredible people. But I just, before we go on, I want to end this quite quickly because I want to have a conversation with Elizabeth. I've developed a theory of the 7 Qs of success. And I think it's something all of you should think of. And perhaps I'll be having a book coming out about it. But you all know about our IQ, the EQ, the AQ is your attitude, your authenticity. The MQ, the meaning quotient in what you do. Your CQ is your curiosity and courage. And LQ is your likability quotient. Who are the people we like and why do we like them? And then the kindness quotient. And so I think it's very important to look at these and see how you can be a better version of them. So what's my recipe for success? Hard work and passion, importance of dreams, curiosity, failure. I've failed many, many times. Sometimes I don't get it right. Self-belief, enthusiasm, energy, 7 Qs. Leave your signature. So one of the things, because food is such a big part, I actually cook food and take it along to my meetings and take something along for someone so they remember that. And the recharge we also have can be really strength for us. Networks is so important. Who you know helps you on the journey and kindness. So if I can see further, it's because I stand at the show. So you can see our Prime Minister Theresa May had come many times. I'm a deputy lieutenant in London, so I have to see people like me. I had a great honor of meeting Michelle Obama came down to London, and I was one of the people who went there. And there's Jimmy Chu, the Malaysian person, who's so inspiring, so he's been a great mentor. So I really believe if you can dream it, you can do it. And there's nothing called bad publicity. One day, there's a big footballers on in England, and we had Jurgen Klopp, actually had the Liverpool Football Club, and a big success. And they asked me to come one day to the match in Liverpool. So I went along with my son. It was a very good match, and I was on my WhatsApp, and everybody was sending me a message saying, "Why are you at Liverpool?" So I said, "How do you know I'm at Liverpool?" They said, "You're on television. You're sitting with Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London." And so I was on television, so you never know where you're going to go where. What about bad publicity? I'd like to end with a little story before I finish. It's the kindness is never forgotten. So about 25 years ago, I went in England with one of my clients to a Burmese restaurant, a restaurant I guess in Myanmar. It was a small restaurant with 8 tables, and the man who owned it was coming round. And he told me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Calcutta." And he said, "I'm alive today because in 1942 we were thrown out of Burma and we all escaped to India, out to Calcutta. We almost all got killed, but I'm alive because a man in Calcutta saved me, and he was an Ismaili." And I said, "I'm an Ismaili, maybe I would have heard of him." And he said his name was Kanbal Dasani. I said, "That's my grandfather." And so like 60 years later, his kindness of saving someone's life is never forgotten. And finally, I'd like to say, for me, the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. So thank you so much for asking me, and I'd love to for listening to a little bit about my story. And I'd like to say, if anybody comes to the UK, be in touch with me. If I can ever help with anything, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to
Thank you very much, Pinky. That was awesome. You covered so much ground in such a short time. Isn't she amazing? Yeah, what she didn't tell you is that this little lady that you see here who's so humble, talk about curry, coriander, and cooking pots, you know. And she has been recognized by the British government and has received her CBE. In case you're wondering what the CBE and DL is all about, they are honors. And the CBE, which is Commander of the British Empire, is actually just before dameship. So she's dame in waiting. So we look forward to that day when she receives her knighthood, actual knighthood, right? So, and of course, DL is again another honorific which is behind her name, and she's too humble to tell us. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about how did you get all these awards? We wouldn't mind. Yeah, all these honors.
One of the things I'll be quite honest about, there are lots of people who seek out things. I've never gone and sought something. It's just, that's why I think what you do, your kindness, what you do things for others, always comes back. And all these honors come from other people, like they may be an associate fellow at Oxford. And so that was something I would never even dreamed of. But to actually get things like that is what people believe in you, in your trust. And again, it goes back to values. Because for me, it's not about myself. Every time I can open a door for someone else, I would. So I think, for instance, everybody would love to go to Buckingham Palace or whatever. And they asked me 2 years ago, to send 30 people to have tea with the case. That there were going to be 5,000 in the garden. And I chose 15 of the young women who had 1 hour course and said, will you go to the palace? And they just had the best time. So I think if I have got anything, it's because of other people.
You are very kind. I mean, I know this for a fact. Before meeting you, of course, Shirkin, who knows you much better, all these years have been talking about you and how we should all meet you, and we're totally delighted that she flew in, especially from Singapore, at our invitation to come share with everyone here this evening. But going back to kindness, Pinky, many people are kind, but yet at the same time, they are very concerned about being overkind because they feel that they can get exploited. Have you ever found yourself in such a position and it has caused you to pull back?
I know a lot of people think kindness is weakness, and I've never agreed with that. I've never had a problem. I don't think you can ever be overkind. Because I think whenever I've been kind, it may not come back from the same person who's been kind to you, it will come back from somewhere else. So you can never be too kind. I mean, I'm a real believer in kindness, and we can do it all the time in so many ways. I think, a lot of people talk about, so many papers that come out, but leaders especially feel that if they seem to be kind, they're favoring some people and not doing others. I don't think that. I think if you have the right values, then you're fine.
Right. Okay. And the other thing is you are a very humble person. And I've heard you say that, well, just now you said that you're disabled, though I don't know where. And then at the same time, you talk about confidence and perhaps that it's something that you lack, which again we don't see. So for our students and also our young leaders here, what helped you find your voice? And then have you start building your life around what you love?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me when you came to India, did you lack confidence if somebody asked you? I've never been afraid of failure. I've taken so many risks, I've failed so many times too. But I think in life you just have to do what you believe. And that's what helps you on the journey. And I think again, I look at people very quickly, I said this earlier, when I meet someone within 4 minutes, I know they have the values. They don't have the values. I would stay away. I wouldn't badmouth them. And I think we have to be very careful before we pass judgments on others, because my family was in the United States. It's going through a very interesting time. My daughter-in-law is from Hong Kong, and we have all kinds of people from everywhere. I think we must listen. They say a likable person, talk about likability. Those people we like, who give us respect, who take an interest in what we're doing, who make us feel good about ourselves. And all of us can make somebody else feel good. There's always something nice about someone. There's a lovely story of Churchill, who used to be the Prime Minister of England many years ago. Apparently his mother, who was American, went out with two people standing in the Prime Minister in Britain, who was Israeli Gladstone. When she had the dinner with them separately, when she came out, the media asked her, what did you think of them? She said, when I was with Gladstone, I came out thinking, he is the most cleverest and most important person in the world. When she came out with Israeli, she felt she was the cleverest and most important person, because he made her believe. I think we can all do that. People often say something is important. It doesn't matter. We can all do it. It goes a long way. I mean, it's so many little ways, like Sherry Blair, I got to know her well, her husband's Prime Minister. One day I get a call from them, saying the Indian Prime Minister is having lunch with him, and the Prime Minister and his wife is having lunch with Sherry Blair. Will you come in and have lunch with them? So I go to number 10 and have lunch with two Prime Minister's wife. She's been kind, and I didn't rank it to her. So these things happen.
Well, there are those who also think that you can afford to be kind if you are in a much more privileged position. For example, if you are the Prime Minister's wife, and for example, or you're a member of the royal family. But if you are not, don't you think that that could I mean, how does that statement resonate with you?
No, I think all of us don't need to be clever, don't need to have money. We can all be kind. It's like helping somebody getting off the train carrying their parcel, just asking someone, for instance. It's hard life in England compared to India, where I grew up, in England, you do everything yourself. But I just invite one thing I do, something which is kindness, is every year we have 50 people shortlisted for our awards, like we have in Singapore here in England. And I invite all 50 to my house. 3 weeks later, I said, come and have lunch, all 50 of you. Probably 30 of them will come. And I cook everything and tell them, please don't ever call me back, just meet other people and grow yourself. And I'm always there. If somebody emails me, I will always reply. And I think that's how we do it. I don't have any money to give people. I'm not giving. So I think I'd like to say, for instance, the lovely lady who is the CFO of Roche in the world. And I told her I was coming here. And I said, I'd love some people from Roche to come. But she's so busy. She let them know and they've got that's being kind.
It's shout out to Roche who is here.
And those are people. So I think, people can be kind. I challenge anyone who tells me I'm kind every single day. And I do that by taking 5 chocolate gold balls in my handbag. And when I'm out, I give it to little children. Sometimes the mom will say, he doesn't eat chocolate. Then it's all right. But I'm just saying that it will never be cake.
Right. In fact, when we talk about kindness in leadership, I find somehow that it is a bit of a misnomer. I mean, how does kindness in leadership as a concept really work? Because sometimes as leaders, yes, courage in leaders, I can understand. And I'll come back to you again on courage, because that was also something that you talked about. But kindness in leadership, kindness is always like a kind of a little bit of a setback, and move backwards and be kind and do things for others. But with leaders, very often they have to lead, they have to make decisions, and they have to charge ahead. And so I mean, how do you define kindness in leadership?
I just think it's thinking about others instead of thinking about yourself. Sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. You have to make decisions that will adversely affect people. You can always follow up, drop them a message, follow up with them, make them feel valued. They say the greatest human craving is the craving to be appreciated. And kindness is just appreciating. So you can be a leader, you have to make 100 people redundant. You have to be, and I can't stop you from doing that. Just follow up first and say, I have done this. And in fact, when people say, no, I'm not okay, then they will be. I always think many people like, well, I can't do it, maybe I'll get someone else to help. I think that's an important way of doing it.
I like that, because yes, if you can't do it because your position doesn't allow you to do it, you can nevertheless get somebody else to do it and at least check up on them. Because the times when we've had to take disciplinary action is inevitable when it comes with a job, etc. And it's painful to do that. And you do care and worry about that person, what will happen. But HR or even, the university management will tell you, no, you cannot follow up, You're supposed to discipline, you're supposed to stay straight, you're supposed to take certain actions which may lead to the person's departure from the organization or from the institution. And that's usually very harsh. But it doesn't stop us from caring, and if we are not able to do it, then I learned from you that we can nevertheless continue through someone else.
We always find ways to work hard enough. I think all the times when I've had a tough time, something nice has come. Totally different way. Sometimes that's the great thing about having a good fight, good community, tough stuff. I'll ask someone else. I may not know the answer, whatever my position is. And I think that's really important. Like, there's so many good things when people say, my memoirs came out. That's what Paul mentioned about COVID. 2 years ago, I almost had a brush with death. And my memoirs came out. And so I got someone to write it. She actually wrote to her Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh and said, to say a few words about Pinky. Her Royal Highness wrote 1.5 pages. So it's over my book. And in that she said, you can never say no to Pinky. That's not true. The lot of people who tell me no when I'm looking for sponsorship and all kinds of things. I have as many people saying, so I think we all have challenges, so I think we just have to go and get out.
Okay. So coming back to courage, right? The importance of courage you have talked about, not just grand acts, small, consistent choices. What does courage actually look to you in everyday life, look like to you? I mean,
I love doing things I've never done. So I love talking to people and hearing their stories. And today I've been here and I'm so enjoying this conversation.
but that comes to you naturally. But what is courage?
It's being willing to take a risk. The courage
Okay, take a risk.
Yes, take a risk. If we don't take a risk, we go nowhere. And people who are not risk takers, we have to take a risk and to learn about others. So, courage is to constantly try to do something you've never done. People ask me, do you know how to speak? I didn't know how to speak to my kids. And I speak all over the world. And I go back to England next week. PwC, which is a big company, about 100 clients come here with a law firm. And people, again, we talk about how things courage. People have courage. You have courage to ask me to come today because I don't make a mess.
Oh, no. That didn't take much courage. I mean,
so suddenly I got an email, and I love sharing stories. I got this email from this woman who I didn't know saying she's from the Cleveland Clinic, which is one of the biggest clinics in America. She said, we're in England, and I'd like you to be the keynote speaker. How much would you charge? That would be 14 women consulting medical people. And I said, oh my God, they've got this very posh conference. So I went to speak there, and I went back. the courage to go.
Now, Pinky, I would love to go back to your very, very, very early days. Not since marriage, arranged marriage and all that, or I would have thought that took a lot of courage. But you know, you're so well known as a leadership icon and a women's advocate. You know, talk about cookbooks, storytelling. But what about that young, very young Pinky, when she was not even in her teens, when she was young? Can you tell us a little bit about her and how her life was shaped to what she is now?
Well, I actually was a Muslim girl growing up in India, which is only 11% Muslims, mainly Hindus. I went to an Irish Catholic convent all my life. That was amazing. I grew up in a really nice home where we had lots of people coming. And I actually, my parents were very strict. When I was 16, 17, I was not allowed to go out with boys because that was not allowed. And I played squash and enjoyed it. I was one of the two girls who played squash in Calcutta. So that was fun. But I think it was more of a family life where that was important, being respectful, going to your grandparents. We didn't have television when I was growing up. So it was a totally different life. We had a very good circle of friends who were similar to us. And I think, my parents were both very, very caring. But they didn't keep praising us and tell us good things about ourselves. We just went around meeting people and having a lot of relations, because that is what we didn't travel much. We traveled once a year. So I think it was a very kind of sheltered upbringing. I loved people with them. I had a good friend with them. That started my life in many ways. And I had a brother and sister who were far cleverer than I was. And it was just doing everything that everyone did was very harmonious. And there was no opportunity to be rude or to lie or to try to do something that you weren't used to. So when I decided to do my undergraduate again, it was similar to myself. So I wasn't exposed to very different people. And yet now, more than ever before, I have a family that's got everything from Jewish, Chinese, to whatever. And that time was very sheltered.
Very sheltered childhood, but as you grow up, that obviously many different events have come in to shape your life. And speaking of advocacy, I find that many people in advocacy are very angry people. They have this being they're honored, or they have a cause, they have to go out, they have to riot, they have to drum up people, they have to go on marches. And boy, do we know what is happening in the US, for example. You see that anger and stuff like that. How do you cope with that? I mean, I don't think in your advocacy you ever needed to show that side of you at all. Or is it because we don't see it?
No, I wouldn't have been able to show it because I don't have that throughout me. So I just stuck to the things that I was good at and that I could do well. And that's why for all students, find out what is your USP, what is your legacy. Even when you're 16, you have to think of what am I going to do in the time. So there are lots of people I don't agree with. I'll just stay away from them because I think it's too difficult to otherwise be caught at the.
Okay, to know when to just leave someone behind, right?
I just do whatever, people very close to you think very differently. You have to be very careful. You don't want to upset someone. I don't want to. Other people are quite happy to do whatever, but that's not me. But they have chosen life and trade the way it was.
Right. Okay. And finally from me, and this is for those of us who feel unseen, unsure, and sometimes they don't seem to belong in groups of power. Okay? What words would you offer to remind them that they are indeed some kind of wonderful?
I really say is just be yourself, give your heart, lead from the heart, really make the difference in the world. We all can, we can all enrich others, we can all inspire others. Whatever we've got, everybody has got something that can actually change the world. And I would never, I'd never give up on trying. You know, when something doesn't work, try something out. So even now, I'm still so curious to learn and to make a difference. So I think my thing is be the best version of yourself, be kind, be hopeful, be enriched, and lead from the heart. Like I'm talking to you now, you talk about disability. My phone, which is my hearing aid, is connected directly to my ear, and I can hear that something's calling. But I'm not really understanding that. I'm just saying those are the challenges we all have. So I have many challenges with others, but I try to smile as much as it, because that's going to be, otherwise I do nothing. If I say I can't hear, I'm not going, I can't do anything. So I've gone to do things that are totally out of my strength, but then you learn. So I think my advice to you is to be the best version of yourself, shine brightly, and never be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of, really. We can't decide how God wants us to go.
Thank you. Well, I think I should open up the floor to others who would love to interact with you and perhaps have some questions. Yes, straight away we have someone right at the back. Yes. A microphone is coming to you.
Hello everyone. Hello Pinky. I'm glad that I'm with you today. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, thank you so much.
Hi Pinky. I have a question to you. How do you instill the culture of kindness?
How do I?
Instill or cultivate the culture of kindness in the room, let's say. How do you do that? Especially when, if let's say you are being the only woman in the room. How do you do that?
I think it's just by showing that kindness is paramount. I think if there's one thing that, as I said, we can all do is be kind. And every day you find people who need your kindness. And I think it becomes part. You think that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, a habit. So make it part of your habit. Just make it so that when you sleep at night you think, oh, I didn't live today because I wasn't kind to someone. Find something. And just how when it began, it was so gracious in the relationship. So I'm the same, so if we can all find something nice and share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Another question?
Hi, Pinky. You've been doing a lot of things with women in the UK, young women in Southeast Asia, and you've also talked about diversity, how the world is starting to be more diverse. Do you feel that starting organizations or boards that specifically uplift minorities like women can really give them more power or respect in the normal workforce?
I think I also go to the other point about men. You know, when we talk about giving strength to women and all, because the one thing I've heard in Singapore, I was there the whole week, and is people tell me they really feel marginalized still. They feel that they aren't getting enough importance, and then people have their own golf brigade, have their own boys club, and the women don't be part of it. But I think we all, big organizations, so I'm always trying to make women do things they're not used to doing. I think very important to network and check for yourself how you can. And men play a very good part in the whole thing. As much as I do for women, I do think for men too, because some men may not express it. They are like I was telling you earlier, 3 weeks ago, we do a podcast with women in the future. There are 120 of them. And 3 weeks ago, I came up with this idea, let's do one for men. And I said, let's go into courage and kindness, and then allyship. So I said, let me get some men who got face value so I WhatsApp 8 men that I know and said, and they all came back within 20 minutes, said, we'd like to do it. One of them only came back, he's very senior, he said, Pinky, do you think I'm good enough? And so men have a lot of things that hold them back, they don't show. But I think we need to give them opportunities, encourage them to take risks, and to have a really good perception of people. So I think we need to do that. We talk about diversity in England, we have so many people. And so when I said to people in Buckingham Palace this year, I chose an African-Caribbean girl, 23, and she said I came out shaking, and I was so excited. So I think, we need to do opportunities that they wouldn't have, not be afraid.
Thank you. Thank you. So not just women, men as well. Don't leave the program out.
Yes, men need it. We need
Yes.
them. I mean, it's really, they're all, I'm working on a new book of science and things, and them that really important.
I think there's a question right at the end. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, Pinky, Professor Lee. Hi everyone, my name is Vincent, I'm from Indonesia. Thank you for this opportunity. It's very good insight that I got this afternoon. I got one question for you, Pinky. We are living in a very fast pace, and with the technology, especially we are in the middle of great artificial intelligence. Now, how could we have this kindness into our daily life, and how could this impact in our both personal and community impact in our daily life? Can you share with us, please?
How does good God impact people with each other?
Yeah, and then the question, and does it link to the AI bit?
How could we actually as individuals to implement this kind of kindness in our daily life, and how could this impact to our personal and community impact?
Oh, that means, for example, in the world of technology, for example, how can we instill kindness?
Thank you for that very good question. And I think it's just the same. Even people, I know so many people who work in AI, technology, software, they have been huge impact. They even, I found, I know many of these people, they need kindness as much as anyone else. Because when they're working, some of them are being kind of like put into waste. So I think kindness, whatever you do, whatever level, is absolutely vital. And I think we need to keep promoting it. I think when you keep sharing something, you're always more likely to believe it. If you don't hear about it, you forget about it. So AI is a big area we're looking at too, because it's becoming so important. And like kindness chat GPT, everybody goes on to do their speeches. And I didn't know how to work that before, but now I do. But some people said I showed it to me, so I have to repeat it. I think it's, in that area, we need to start out. And I don't think it is.
Thank you. Are there any more questions or thoughts you'd like to share with Pinky? Pinky.
Thank you very much for coming this afternoon and all your sharing. I want to ask you, how do you show kindness to people who are so undeserving?
Very good question.
I still think it just has to be kind. Whatever somebody is like, and sometimes kindness has come from the most unexpected sources. So I think you just have to, because at some point, people think, I won't do this, but it's not, if wrong value is one thing, but I would just look at it and it becomes part of your life. I would never change it. And you're carrying a Chanel bag, I see there. And that is interesting because I went to, they were talking summit where there were 400 people, and there was a young girl next to me, and she was an Aborigine from Australia. And she said, she was speaking with me, and she turned around and said, you're a very classy person. I said, why do you say that? She said, you're wearing Chanel earrings.
you
So
are.
I said, and so then I said, yeah, but my favorite, I said, is Chanel number 5, the perfume in my, she said that was
Oh.
amazing, she got afford it even after it in Australia. And so I took out my perfume, sprayed it with her, and and she goes up on stage 15 minutes later and said, I've met the kindest person in my life, 480 euros to me. She sprayed her perfume on me. So you just don't know, that's what I'm saying, whatever somebody is like, treat yourself, do not create others. That's all I can say. Like I would have my head massage in home, and I'll always take my perfume and spray it on the lady and she said, I will not have a bath today because I like she's like to try or something. Doesn't make it old, it makes it something. Because it enriches you.
Can I offer my thoughts on this, and then you tell me whether I'm doing the right thing? Okay. When the undeserving, I love that. When people are undeserving, they're not nice to you. You're kind to them, but they're nasty back to you, and gosh. So, I pray for them. I thought that the kindest thing I can do is I pray for them. But at the same time, I have to pray for myself too. Don't get angry. Sorry, Lord. That kind of. That's can that be kindness?
Undeserving, I think everyone, whoever's even undeserving, deserves kindness. Because that's what we're trying to do. And I think it is a graciousness to be kind. Even to people who don't think cigar or telling something. I think you could be, I don't find it
Okay.
it's just me. And I think it comes back, when somebody's had kindness and they don't deserve it, it may be a little while, it will come back to them at some stage. So these things come back.
Thank you. Any other question? Oh, well, he has a question, but I'm going to help him to ask. Sibrit?
Yeah.
Professor Pokima
Yeah.
has never been short of words.
Yeah. Professor, I'm going to answer on your behalf.
Yes.
The question is, how do you tell Donald Trump to be kind?
How do you tell Donald Trump to be kind?
That's what I wouldn't even, let me know not telling how kind he is. But that's a real tough one, I think.
That's a real Trump one.
Yeah, but even I'm from India and I'm not that inspired by their prime minister either. So I think you just have to have patience and find kindness somewhere else.
I was going to say, this is the one that we talked about, because you just leave the room, veer away from them. Yes, we've all decided we're not going to go to the US for a while now.
I was going to interject to say, for some people, we need to bring a pepper spray. So pepper spray or Chanel, depending on
There was also another question, I think, yeah? Was it Xiaoping? Oh, no, sorry. Jennifer, yeah.
No, my name is Lucy. I'm Latin Lucy.
Oh, sorry, Latin Lucy, I couldn't see it.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on, when they said something about the undeserving, the ones who don't deserve, what about, have you ever gone to correction institutions? Like prison and empowered women there?
And they think but I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering, just now someone mentioned about those who don't deserve kindness. By any chance have you gone to correction institutions like prison and empowered the women there? Because there's this stigma among people in society towards these people. We should give them second chances. So have you tried going there?
I have done a little work some time ago in prisons where we had the women, and again they were all looking. They have to be helped in a certain way. They have a totally different attitude. The way we look at them is paramount. But it's a tough one. But they need also to be in the company they are, maybe some better than others, so that helps them. But everybody from the same attitude is a really tough one. It's a very tough one. And some of them have children, there's so many things to come out. That's a tough one, and you have to work quite hard.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, we've got more questions here.
Hi. I didn't tell you my name last time. My name is Annabelle. This is less of a question and more of an observation, but I would like to say you are a Disney princess. Like Snow White or Cinderella. These are very kind women who they are kind to everyone that they meet, but at the same time are so hardworking throughout their entire stories. They aren't just relying on someone else, but even if they're not being kind to the prince or the king, they're kind to mice or birds, even when their evil stepmothers or stepsisters are going after them, they're still kind to them. And even in later movies, when their stepsisters come and say, oh, I've fallen in love with someone, can you help me? After all of the time, it feels like they're undeserving. These Disney princesses are still take time to be kind, and even if that kindness doesn't directly translate to their happily ever after, you see that they get where they are because they're just inherently nice people who believe that everyone should be kind. And I very much see that in you. So thank you for letting me meet a Disney princess tonight.
That's made my day. I remember my grandmother in 96, and they're, introduced me in a big way. We're taking them, and then this August to Disney World. And so you're absolutely right. In Cinderella, remember the two sisters who are horrible, but I still think you can be kind. I don't think that being unkind, which helps you in the long run. You may get away with that moment, but you'll come back.
I used to think that these were all fairy tales, But then you are absolutely right, Annabelle. She has dispelled that myth. Yeah.
Especially in the age of the modern Disney princesses. I don't have ice powers. I'm not born a princess. I cannot change my entire world and expel all of the people who get me down. I can only be kind to the small people or the small animals or the people I meet along the way. And that is very empowering to me.
That's so true, and we should all do that. You may say, look, I don't feel that part. To be quite honest, I don't think that. And so you're eloquent and you will go a long way. Can I give you my email? I would love to hear it. That would inspire.
That would be great. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you, Annabelle. I think, yes.
Thank you very much. I hope you will indulge one more question from me, Pinky. Allow me first of all a little story. I studied at Sunway College many years ago when it was based in PJ State. So I studied A-levels, and coming to Sunway University today, many years later, I'm like, wow! It's really grown, and that's how I recognize you, Prof. Elizabeth.
Yes.
You are my Guru Bazaar.
Okay, welcome home.
Thank you very much. So my question for you, Pinky, is along the lines of women and leadership. In the company I'm with now, I'm very keen on mentoring young women to grow into leaders and be confident leaders. From your vast experience, what would you say women under 35 feel most inspired by, feel they learn a lot from the women leaders who are over 35? Because in the now culture, it's all about, I know everything already, nothing to learn from you. But yet, age is like wine. The older you are, the more experience you have, the more you actually are able to contribute and to share to others. I'd love to learn from you, Pinky, what young women have been inspired the most, or what moves the needle the most when it comes to encouraging women to step up as leaders, women to stop behaving like second-class citizens, especially those of us in this part of the world.
Well, that's a very good question. You put it so eloquently. I think the women under 35, we need so many of them. They need role models, they need inspiration, they need champions, you need others who will open doors with you. You need people who believe in you, who will help you when you're down, you may have challenges. You
Yes,
need someone
absolutely.
who will come and be able to help them. And also, to me it's so important to have access to others. What helps us all on our journey is when we have access to people who never have access to. So if you can help people coming up, make them go to places they would never be able to go to. That's important.
Make introductions to the right people, right?
Their connections with people are, and whenever I'm looking for answers, I go to others. I think it's giving them access and meeting themselves. And education, very important.
You also said champions, very, very important.
Champions are very important. So it's not always mentors, but it could be a champion. And so role models, those role models like the CFO brochure, she will open doors for everyone. And that at that level, she doesn't have time. Yet she will find the time. So I think as over 35, we should be doing that.
Thank you very much, Pinky.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Well, I think we are done. Unless Paul has a burning question.
I asked all my questions before, and I'm hoping to ask more after.
All right.
But also just to extend an invitation, actually, to be honest, on Saturday we have Sunway alumni coming back to campus to mentor young people, coincidentally. So maybe we can reach out to you to get you to come back and mentor the Sunway students who are currently with us.
Yeah, I think we have about 200 mentors coming back. So it's quite incredible, and they are all alumni. Alumni coming back, and it's part of their way of giving back. Alumni giving back in 5 ways, the 5 T's, as we call it: time, treasure, help me, talent, ties, and testimony. So in this particular case, it's time and perhaps even talent.
All right, thank you so much. That was the most interesting session.